What's up, everyone, and welcome to Lollipops to Die For. I'm your host, Stephanie, and this is my colleague and co-host, Simona, and this is our very first episode. This is the premiere. So today we're going to talk about a paranormal case between Mark and Debby Constantino. I'm certainly sure you guys know this. So without further ado, let's get on into it.
Welcome back, everyone. This is our first episode, and we wanted to begin with a bang with the first case out of the paranormal community, which not a lot of people know about or talk about, but we wanted to talk about. And we're going to start with the case of Debby and Mark Constantino, which is a husband and wife that have been very much active in the paranormal community, very well known. Mm-hmm. And they had their first paranormal encounter, I would say, on
That's
TV.
Paranormal outside.
Right.
I don't know if you guys can hear that.
So I guess everybody's complaining against us. So the first time they were on TV, I guess, on the paranormal scene was in 2007. They were known for being paranormal investigators and pretty good at it. They became pretty known. They were specialized in EVPs and ghosts caught on tape. So they also resided in Sparks, Nevada. And they had their own business and their own website. It was called Spirit Speaks.
I like that.
I know.
That's a good one.
Man, you took the best one.
I know, right?
So they were pretty well known in the community, and they traveled throughout from Nevada to across country with the cases on TV. So they're I guess you can call it the paranormal couple that was traveling for all sorts of stuff.
Right. So they were also well known, as you guys may know, Ghost Adventures. So they started doing several episodes, I would say probably between 2008 and 2012. They were a face with Ghost Adventures, with Zach Bagans. So they were frequent flyers on there. By the time 2012 rolled around, they actually had a household name. And so they made many appearances on this show. Consequently, the Constantinos were an immensely popular addition for the Ghost Adventures fans. They had a wonderful personality. Everybody loved them. But obviously what was on screen versus what was in real life was totally two different. Their appearances usually brought a needed lift to what could sometimes be a show without the much punch. So they were good to the show.
Well, the interesting part is they were known in the community and on TV, and they were known for their sparky personalities. But that tells you now, behind closed doors, you never know.
Just like social media.
Right.
What is happening on social media is actually not really the truth.
Right.
Not really the truth.
The real part of the story, this is where it all starts. On July of 2012, Debby Constantino was arrested for domestic violence. In the incident, she allegedly scratched Mark, her husband, and cut him with a knife during an argument. So we've all been there as women. We know in a heated conversation you get pretty spastic, but she got way overboard.
Right.
So Mark decided to call the police like any man, and she was arrested. And then Mark filed for a temporary restraining order, even though he changed his mind afterwards and withdrew the temporary restraining order for the domestic violence. On her record, it still stayed.
Of course.
So, which pretty normal. So basically, in the early summer of 2015, Mark filed for another restraining order against Debby, claiming she tried to stab him.
Then, this is when things get take a turn for the worse and get kind of ugly. On August 7th of 2015, Debby detailed an incident for the police in which she alleged that the Constantinos' daughter, Raquel, dragged her friend out of Debby's vehicle and began beating her. Then Mark dragged Debby from the car to the house and held her, beating her and choking her. So he strangled her until Debby's friend was able to call for help. By August 10th, Debby had filed a temporary restraining order against her husband Mark and their daughter as well, Raquel, which is shocking to me that the daughter would actually, this is their daughter, by the way, this isn't his daughter. Right. This is their daughter they share, and yet she's helping the dad strangle the mom and beat the mom, which is very, very strange to me. Mark Constantino faced charges of domestic violence and kidnapping, among others. And Raquel was charged with kidnapping, domestic battery, and vehicle burglary, as well as Mark was charged with kidnapping, domestic battery, and battery by strangulation.
I mean,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
In the end,
and it's such a sad situation, though.
Well, the weird part is, they both, Mark and Raquel, his daughter, basically were granted bail. They got out on bail bonds, and they were ordered to stay away from Debby, the mom, which is pretty normal, but or abnormal in the current situation. But the events of September 22nd, 2015 left a tragic hole in the paranormal community because that is when basically everything exploded between them. So Mark and Debby Constantino were sucked into a vortex of shocking violence, which is, the violence between them escalated to an extreme that nobody even thought of.
Right.
And it left them both dead at gunshot wounds, along with an apparent innocent third party. So the Constantinos were known for their acerbic, sometimes cutting public banter with each other. So it was pretty well known. They played on each other's personalities. But everyone thought it was part of an act. In retrospect, it was most certainly not. So here's where the story took a turn for the worst.
So on September 22nd, I'm going to give you a timeline. So from 6 to 8 a.m., Debby's roommate found James Anderson, that was a third roommate, dead in the apartment that the three shared at the 2300 block of Escalera Court in Reno, Nevada. He was found with a gunshot wound to his head. Concerned for her safety, which, understandably, the surviving roommate asked police to find Debby because she was missing. So at that point, she was gone. Nobody could find her.
Right. And then next, at 11 a.m., by pinging Debby's cell phone, which, because she went missing, that was pretty normal, the police tracked her down to an apartment across town at the Courtside Garden Apartments near 15th Street and Audi Boulevard in Sparks, Nevada. It was an apartment rented to the Constantino's daughter and Mark Constantino, estranged from Debby, who was staying there at that time.
So at 11:15 a.m., officers knocked on the apartment door and shots immediately rang out. The door was barricaded and Mark yelled from inside that he had Debby and wanted 15 minutes or he'd kill her. This was a hostage situation, he yelled at the police, and ordering police to back off. Negotiations between Mark and the officers commenced. Investigators eventually made contact with Mark, who was 53 years old at the time, but were unable to convince him to surrender, sources said.
And next, at 1:30 p.m., so after more than 2 hours of tense negotiations, the SWAT team heard a gunshot from the inside of the apartment and then abruptly used explosive to gain entry and found the Constantinos, both of them, both Mark and Debby, dead in the unit. So Debby and Mark died from fatal gunshot wounds, and 3 people were dead that took place at a home in Reno and an apartment in Sparks on Tuesday, September 22nd, 2015.
Very sad. One of the few surviving members of the family, struck by murder-suicide in a history of domestic abuse, was in Reno Justice Court Monday, March 14, 2016. Raquel Constantino, that's the daughter, the one that helped the dad, was initially accused of domestic battery, simple battery, and burglary. She agreed to a plea bargain. Her sentence was 175 days suspended. She must also undergo through an anger management treatment program, as well as an alcohol program in Las Vegas, where she currently lives. And Raquel Constantino must complete the program in 5 months. I don't have any update as to where Raquel is today. I didn't really go into that further because I just solely wanted to focus on the actual, Debby and Mark and the Constantinos, and may they rest in peace. But it's a very sad case, and it took a very big hit to the paranormal community. I certainly remember when this came out, and I was like, what? And I started looking him up, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
The interesting part is, and this is where our opinions come to play, and I want to disclose this is our opinions and our opinions only. Don't take offense to it, and don't gang up against us because of it. But our opinions, especially mine, is number one, how can your own kid get to the point where usually daughters are more close to the mom than to the dad, usually.
Yeah.
But she ganged up with the dad to beat the crap out of the mom, even if you were in a tense relationship.
I think there was probably like a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
There had to be a lot of stuff that isn't like covered that we don't know. Like they only focused on the incidents of arrest and the incidents of like what came out publicly and what is public knowledge. But what was behind closed doors was probably so much greater.
Well,
it had to be.
That's where I thought for your daughter to gang up against you and beat you up.
But she had a history of violence as well. True. It isn't just like Mark was the only one. It went both ways. It truly did.
In retrospect, if you look from the outside in, and again, my opinion, she had to have some sort of history of anger management, alcohol, drugs for someone to get this bad and make your own child go against you.
Very true.
And this is one of the reasons why we wanted to approach this particular case, is because it shows you, again, behind closed doors, nobody's how you think. Everybody has drama, trauma, and family issues.
Very true. So be wise to know that social media is not always the truth.
No. And especially
truth is always scarier, isn't it?
Behind closed doors, truth is always scarier.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it also shows you in the end that 3 people died because there was a 3rd person found mysteriously dead,
right?
Other than them, and also their daughter's life was forever changed. Even though, in my personal opinion, she got almost nothing for the amount of violence she produced.
Yeah, which is very
175 days suspended. Really?
Well, she didn't actually do it.
No,
so that's why.
I understand that, but
I don't know.
For just beating your mom,
I think she should have gotten more, but that's my personal opinion. I think that there should have been some life in prison on that one, but just because she conspired to it, she was part of it. Right. But I'm not in the court system, so I can't control that.
Right.
But we wanted to bring this story to you guys. As our premiered one, especially because it deals with the paranormal community and is somewhat of importance to the family of Mark and Debby. May you find peace and rest in paradise, Debby and Mark. Hopefully they're in a better place.
Right. And also, as an homage to them, because regardless, they were known, they were good for the paranormal community, and they're not to be forgotten for their work.
True.
So,
true.
this is one of the reasons why we wanted to approach this particular case.
Yes. Yes.
But thank you
All
for being with us on this new ride.
Yes, and we shall see you in a few weeks with our episode 2.
Yes.
Alrighty. Remember, guys, truth is always scarier. Bye-bye.
Bye.